The Phoenix Suns go to the Big Easy, New Orleans, Louisiana, and they avenge a loss that occurred on February 25th, a 15-point loss in which both CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram toasted them. And I'm sure if you were asked Devin Booker, Matthew, if the team needed any sense of motivation to beat this New Orleans team, they would simply recall that loss and say, hey, we don't need any motivation. We know what happened. They kicked our ass. And that's what they did tonight. They kicked the Pelicans' ass 55-14 for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, that's all they need. And who you calling Big Easy? Is that you calling me Big Easy?
No, that's what you call New Orleans, man.
Oh.
It's like calling Phoenix the Valley. I'm also going to call you the...
I'm joking, dude.
You're the Big Easy Valley. How about that?
All right, that's fine. That was my nickname in high school.
I knew it.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, good game tonight, dude. I didn't really realize, and before when we talked about this game, I forgot that they did blow out the Suns before, and until you brought it up now, I'm like, okay, that makes sense why Booker was up on the bench the whole game, and his leadership tonight just went up another notch without Chris Paul there. That explains it. But obviously, Booker wants to win every game, so I just thought that was just a normal thing for him.
Absolutely. And that's the competitive nature in which he operates. And again, he is one of those guys who we talked about it a little bit with Coach Evan B on our last podcast, that he just has that gene, that fuck you gene, that I'm going to find a reason why I should dominate you gene. That Gene Lissy, if you will, where he is just looking to find a reason to go out and try to snatch your soul. And this was a game tonight that potentially could have gotten away from the Phoenix Suns. The Pelicans came out on fire. They were hitting everything from deep, and then they started to navigate the interior. You know, when you start Jackson Hayes and Jonas Valanciunas, that's going to happen. And there was plenty of reasons and ways I felt like the Phoenix Suns could have dropped this game because the game script wasn't really in their favor. But when you have the likes of Devin Booker, who's going to continue to push himself and continue to push his teammates to excellence, excellence is what you ultimately end up with. It's like, what's that saying? Shoot for the star or shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll land among the stars. And that's what Devin Booker did tonight. He landed among the stars and guided his team to their 55th victory of the season.
Yeah, and I am not in the stars. I'm not high tonight. I do look sleepy probably because I don't know why. I'm very tired.
Why are you tired, Matthew?
I don't know. You know, it's not like a lack of sleep really, but something just hit me today, dude, where I'm just super tired.
It's watching that anime, bro. That shit makes you, that rots your mind.
It might be it, man.
It's like, oh, great, man. We're going to have all the anime people coming out for us. So plenty to talk about on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching along live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or you're listening to the podcast at a later time and date. We appreciate you spending a few moments with us. I'm John. He's Matthew. You can follow me at Darth Voida. You can follow him,
Matthew. Let's see.
And you can follow the show at Suns Jam. Give us a follow and a like and a rate and a review there if you like. We'd appreciate it. We would. Plenty to talk about when it comes to this game against the Pelicans tonight. Again, the Suns win 131-115, so plenty to talk about. And we'll try to wake Matthew up. You know, that's our goal. This podcast, we're going to wake him up. We're going to have some thoughtful and deep discussions about Deandre Ayton's shoe choice tonight, and maybe that'll perk Matthew up into, by the time this podcast is ending, he can't sleep because he's so awake.
Yeah, right? Help me, Jamster. Stay awake, please. And plus, John has the energy of 300 people right now, so I think
help me, Jamsters. Help me, Jamsters. Help me, Jamsters. Wake Matthew up. Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Oh, I forgot to pop mine open.
Oh, you don't have anything. It's
I got water.
Free. Yes, a 131-115 win for your Phoenix Suns as they start game 1 of 2 of a back-to-back tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans, tomorrow against those Houston Rockets. But you know what? I'm going to ask something totally different, Matthew.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I gotta ask. Did you see that today the United States Senate passed the Sunshine Protection Act? If the House passes it as well, we'll never see 8 p.m. Suns games again. Because it's going to get rid of daylight savings and all that stuff. Did you see that?
I did see that. As long as Biden signs it and it goes through, then no more 8 o'clock games and no more even tired Matthew Poll to see over here, right? So that's
It's
exciting.
7:30 at night and you're like tired.
I heard something about the soil's not as good with nutrition anymore and nutrients. So I guess it doesn't
I know
matter.
what it is. You've gone gluten-free. You've hit like ketosis right now. So you're at that point where it's like you've lost all energy.
And
then
that
like
might
after a day of that, then all of a sudden you'll start
Yeah.
like burning fat and you'll be alive. Meanwhile, I'm over here sucking on a Coors Light full of gluten.
Yeah, I got this. I can pull through. I might have to just exit out here pretty soon, but you got us, John, right?
I got you. But yes, I know this is a weird topic to start the podcast off with, but this is fun. For those of you who live in Arizona, we never change our clocks forward or back, right? Spring forward and fall back. That's never been something for us. But if you live in Arizona, you know that for half of the year, your sports start at one time, and for the other half of the year, your sports start at another time. So prior to November, if the Phoenix Suns play the Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings, the Warriors, or the Portland Trailblazers all on the West Coast, those games start at 7 p.m., which means we record our podcast right around 9:15 at night. Once November hits, from November to March until this past weekend, all of those games occur at 8 p.m. our time because, we don't observe anything, but the whole country moves around us. So I was excited to hear that. Once I heard that today, I was at work and I ran into the sales office and I was telling the girls there, I'm like, oh my God, the Senate passed the Sunshine Protection Act. And they're like, 1, who the fuck are you, new guy? 2, get the fuck out of my office. And 3, what are you talking about?
That's how they
But I thought it
there?
was, what's that? Yeah, it's really, it's an aggressive environment. But again, it makes me excited because for us as Arizonans, that means we'll never have to do a podcast at like 10:30 at night because the game started at 8 p.m. All of those 8 p.m. games are already behind us because of daylight savings time occurring this past weekend. But still, I was excited about that, and I thought I'd lead off the show with that. Clearly, I'm just different.
No, it's cool. And I love the 7 o'clock games. 8 o'clock, too late. These 5 o'clock games suck because I'm driving through traffic on the way home. It takes me like an hour to get home. So I'm listening to it in my Beats earphone because my radio just doesn't work anymore because my car is super fucking old. So that went out. So now I'm trying to listen to this game on my Beats AirPods, and that's probably illegal, right? You can't be listening to that stuff, right? You can't have stuff in your ears, right? Anymore?
No, I don't think it's legal for you to do that, but
just one in your ear? I think one in your ear is okay, right?
I think that's okay. We'll go ahead and ask, so says Jay from the Fanning the Flames podcast, if that's sustained or if that's overruled.
All right.
But yeah, so again, just excited about that. And I'm excited about this win. No.
All right, sorry.
Everyone
just keeps saying I'm big, I'm not.
Sonia says Lissy had a 100 milligram edible.
I would not. My head keep falling off right
nothing
now.
Nothing wrong with that, Lissy. It's funny. Matthew's alive and well, folks. He's just a little groggy because he's gone gluten-free. He's trying the ketosis thing, and it drains you of your energy and your personality. And then whenever you go anywhere, you tell everyone you're gluten-free, or you have to let every waiter know. You're like, hey, just so you know, even though I ordered something that's gluten-free, I'm telling you I'm gluten-free to ensure that everyone at the table knows what I'm doing with my life. And then what'll happen is you'll go and you'll start doing CrossFit, and you won't know if you want to talk about being gluten-free or CrossFitter first, and your mind will explode.
Yeah, and everyone just hates you and says, go fuck yourself, right?
Yeah, they're like, okay, you're better than us. You don't eat gluten. You are an amazing human being. Good for you. You lose your weight. I'm going to go eat some ice cream now and cry. I'm going to go eat my feelings. Story of my life. Anyways, Suns, Pelicans, going against Willie Green, a guy who we all respect and love, a guy who knows how to give the Suns a hard time. You look at how they've played each other this season. Couple good matchups. Suns lost the last one simply due to the rebounding deficiencies that occurred because the Pelicans start Jackson Hayes at power forward and Jonas Valanciunas at center. And early on, it kind of looked like that was going to be something that's really going to hurt the Phoenix Suns. Through the first half, second chance points, the Pelicans were outscoring the Suns 17-3. Offensive rebounds, they had 8. The Suns had 2. It was just kind of that same old story where you felt like the Phoenix Suns were falling back into this hole of we can't rebound. And what made me really interested, Matthew, is the fact that we didn't see Monty Williams pull that trigger on a JaVale McGee / DA lineup, or a JaVale McGee / Bismack, or a Bismack / Ayton lineup.
Yeah.
So tell me what you saw from the rebounding efforts from the Pelicans, and why do you think Monty didn't decide to pull that trigger?
There might be a couple reasons. Tomorrow night, I mean, we're playing again, so maybe he's saving Bismack for that. But then I thought that before too, with some other games where we were getting out rebounded, and I'm like, oh, maybe he's saving Bismack for the next game, and it wasn't even the case because Bismack didn't play the next game on the back-to-back. So I think this thing with Bismack playing with McGee, which I do love, and Bismack playing with Ayton, and Bismack taking Torrey Craig's minutes at certain times when Torrey Craig's playing the 4 and he can't even box out, when Hermaphrodite's basically grabbing boards over the top of Torrey Craig, then it's like these might be Bismack minutes, and they might need to be, but it's like something that he waits for till the very, very end. Like if he really, really has to. I think the only thing that really held him back is because the Suns they kept the lead basically the whole game. I know at the end of the second half, the Hornet, oh my gosh, the Pelicans, this is gonna suck. The Pelicans, all right. The Pelicans, here we go. All right. The Pelicans actually, they were making the big run to come back into the game. And I thought right then and there, maybe going to the next half, they might pull that off. But then they kept the lead. I think Booker did a really good job of leading the team in every category tonight: defense, offense, whatever he had to do on the floor. But I was really focused on to see if Bismack would come in. It never happened. But I just like the lead kept pushing up further and further and further. And then I cared less and less and less as the game went along.
Matthew, I think you care less and less about life right now, and we're here to help you through it.
I should have said anything.
Well, no, I mean, ultimately, what helped the Suns survive that first half was their 3-point shooting, because despite all the statistics that I just read off in the first half, the Phoenix Suns were 11 of 18 from 3, and they took into that first half an 8-point lead. But it was a very uneasy feeling because you knew that they were being dominated on the glass. And the realization came to me. There was a few podcasts ago when we played against, I think it was the Knicks, and DA went for 8 and 3. And I trashed him, right? I was livid about DA because he had Mitchell Robinson right there. And Mitchell Robinson, plus the fact that the guards were having a hard time to, sticking to their defenders, DA would come off of Mitchell Robinson, go for a block, do some sort of shot deterrence. We saw it with RJ Barrett, who I believe went 9 for 20 from the field, or maybe even worse, 9 for 26. Yeah. But Mitchell Robinson feasted because DA had to come off of him. And when you're watching Jonas Valanciunas and Jackson Hayes dominate the glass the way that they did, and you realize, like, our 4 is Jay Crowder. And for everything that Jay Crowder is great at, he is, I would say, a C+, B- on the rebounding front, but he's supposed to be your secondary rebounder. And I wasn't frustrated with DA, who had, I'll look it up right now, but I think he had 5 rebounds at the half. Incorrect. He had 3 rebounds at the half. He was 10 and 3. Meanwhile, Valanciunas had 7 rebounds. Jackson Hayes had 8 points, and he had 2 rebounds, but he had a bunch of putbacks. That's how he was scoring his. And I was just like, yeah, Coach Evan B says in the chat, he says weak side rebounding, man. Like, that's where we need to get off of Ayton and his lack of total rebounds and realize, like, he has to make up for any defenders' deficiencies if they let their playmaker get to the rim, and he can't shot deter, make up for their mistake on defense, and get the rebound, right?
No, he can't. And it was a lot of like what we were seeing before, where Ayton was like out by the perimeter, out further up the paint. Like, he wasn't able to get back. And if he was, it would probably be a foul. And it wasn't even, I don't think it was a whole lot of his effort either. It was just, he was so far away from the basket to where he couldn't really do much. And the nice thing is, like you said early on, it looked really bad. But yeah, the Sun centers, pointed out by R in the chat, yes, the Sun centers wore out Jonas, Valanciunas, Big V. They wore him out. I mean, that's what happens a lot in these games when you're like, man, these guys are killing the Suns, but you forget, like, these teams, especially like the Pelicans and like what the Raptors did, where they're just, they're kind of bottom feeders in the playoff standings. they're fighting for something. They're playing the Suns. They want to get up. They have that energy. And it all comes a lot in the first half because you have to get up on the Suns if you can. If the Suns are in a shooting slump, there's your chance.
Yep.
But tonight that wasn't the option really for the Pelicans because the Suns were making their shots. But they do get worn down, these teams, because they put so much effort out there while DA and other players are kind of coasting a little bit in the first half, and then they turn on the second half.
Yeah, and a key moment in this game, I feel, is when Devin Booker, who had a fantastic first quarter. As you mentioned, he did a lot in this game. A lot of it was in the first quarter where he scored 11 points. He had 3 assists, 2 rebounds, 5 for 7 from the field, including 1 of 1 from deep, played all 12 minutes. I thought a big key in this game was entering the second quarter is how the Phoenix Suns respond. Because I feel like there's times, to your point, if the teams that we're playing against want to jump the Suns and have an opportunity to get some, either keep it close or take a lead going into halftime, they do it in that segment of time, that 5 to 6 minutes in which Devin Booker's not on the floor right now. Because we don't have Chris Paul. We don't have that constant playmaker and somebody who can set up his teammates to the point where they can score consistently with Devin Booker off of the court. And the second quarter started. The Pelicans scored 5 quick points. I was like, shit. We were up 8. Now I don't know, after 1, I don't even think we were up 8. After 1, we were up, littering and speeding. We were up 4. So they came out and they scored 5 quick points and took the lead 34-33. And I was like, okay. I'm like, this is that key time. How do the Suns respond? And they responded with a 7-0 run. They responded with Mikal Bridges hitting a couple threes. And Mikal was really big in this game, in my opinion. He hit a bunch of shots during those periods of the game in which we needed some semblance of offense. The award. Now, Mikal ends the night with 20 points, 7 of 14 from the field, including 4 of 5 from beyond the arc. He had the 4 personal fouls, but he also had 3 assists and 3 rebounds. And as I mentioned, Matthew, when the Suns needed scoring and it wasn't coming through Devin Booker through the first 3 quarters, Mikal Bridges is the guy who really bridged, no pun intended, that gap for the Phoenix Suns to ensure that they still had scoring occurring against a pesky team that was getting second chance points. And thankfully for the Suns, 4 of those came from the super shot beyond the arc. Shazam! And again, helped the Phoenix Suns maintain their lead throughout.
Yeah, what Mikal's doing is he's basically the second scorer right now, and he is helping Booker because I feel like today's NBA, you need like the 2 guys, and the 2 guys is enough. I feel like offensively, really, to carry your team through the end of the game. Usually it's Devin Booker. Usually it's Devin Booker and Chris Paul. Obviously, with Paul being out, Cameron Johnson was the guy that would help out when he was here and healthy. Mikal's now the other guy. I feel like Mikal's really helping Booker. And you might say, like, oh, what about Ayton? I just think Ayton gets his 18 points, and he's not really, counted on to score, in crucial times for the Suns to carry them. I think he's a really good help. He really is at certain times for the Suns. And he's a guy that can help Mikal Bridges on the floor and Booker at the same time. But you need those 2 scorers, and Mikal's really stepped up as that guy. It's just like, like the way the Nets are right now with Kyrie and KD, and those are out of this world. Those players are out of this world, of course. Yeah. Probably 2 of the top 5 players, but it's like that's enough, right? You don't need like the James Harden. You just need like the 2 guys. And I'm not saying like Booker and Mikal are those guys, but Booker and Chris Paul are those dudes. And then when Paul's out, you need a guy like Bridges to step up offensively, and he's done it. It's crazy, man. He's really stepped up.
Well, and think of the future of this franchise. Devin Booker's under contract for, I think, 4 more years. We now have Mikal under contract for the next 4 years because his deal kicks in next year. And that's your Michael Jordan and your Scottie Pippen, if you will, right? Like, I don't know if they're nearly near the talent of those 2 players, but that's what you have. You have your premier scorer who can score in numerous different ways and is clutch. And then you have your great defender, your 3-and-D guy, who can score as well. And knowing that is locked up does nothing but benefit us for the future, because not only are they going to continue to excel due to their age and how they're entering their prime, but players want to play with those kind of players. So when opportunities come, and we've seen that. I mean, that's what makes this Phoenix Suns roster who they are. You go back, to the bubble. Chris Paul sees the way that the Phoenix Suns perform, that way that Mikal Bridges kind of steps into his own as a defender while Devin Booker's hitting, huge buzzer beater, big dick buzzer beaters over Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. You can fast forward to the next season where both continue to grow and Chris Paul's a part of the team and they go to the NBA Finals. And now this year where they've just both kind of become these stone cold blooded killers when it comes to clutch moments, when it comes to those big moments, because again, that's where, Mikhail's not going to go out there and hit the game winning fadeaway three. But what he is going to do is when the team needs a shot, he's going to find a way to either create for himself or somebody else. And that's why I thought, we're going to get to the Jam Star a little bit later in the podcast. But for 3/4 of this game, in my opinion, it was Mikal Bridges. And that's even including a great performance, by the man, the myth, the legend, the Big Dick.
Big Dick Booker.
I mean, Devin Booker tonight, 27 points, 11 for 20 from the field, 4 for 9 from beyond the arc, had 5 rebounds and 8 assists. And like I said, I wanted to give it to Mikal Bridges. That's how impactful I felt he was tonight. What'd you see from Devin Booker? And is he your – are you going to tell us who your Jam Star is already?
Yeah.
Or should we wait?
No, I'm gonna definitely get to Book. Book's my Jam Star for sure. I just think all game long, even when he's on the bench later in the game in the fourth quarter, supporting his teammates, like when Wainwright goes down for the N1, he's like holding his shoulders up, he's all intimidating the way he walks, things like that. It was like his leadership tonight was really, it's different because it's Tuesday night, and I know that the Pelicans beat them before, but it's a Tuesday night. Suns win or lose, does it really matter?
Yeah.
Not really. And it was a so-so performance. The Suns did shoot 50+% from 3, which totally helped, of course, that score. But other than that, it was like a so-so performance, and Mikal stepped up in a big way, but McGee, of course, did great, but it was okay. But the reason why they blew this team out is because Booker just wanted it so bad, and it probably is because they beat him last time, but I just think that the way he's stepping up in certain situations and almost like just the whole game, his energy is like, I'm winning this game. And it's not like I'm winning this game selfishly. It's like I'm winning this game, making sure I set up everybody for, success on the court. And that's exactly what he did all game long, I felt like.
No, you're right. I mean, that's why he had those 8 assists is in that first quarter, Campaign wasn't overly effective, I feel. He did have a total of 8 assists in the game and 3 assists in that first quarter. But he, those first 7 minutes and 46 seconds that he played, the team was clicking and they were fighting back against the Pelicans. Because, like I said, the Pelicans came out, they were 6 for 13 from 3, but they started the game, I believe, 6 of 8. So they came out really on fire. Mm-hmm. But when Aaron Holiday came in the game, there was definitely a drop-off from a playmaking standpoint. Wasn't the greatest Aaron Holiday performance, especially in the first half. And that's where Devin Booker, to your point, Matthew, really took over the leadership role and said, hey, I've seen Aaron Holiday. There was one fast break where he's going down, Booker's on his right, and he could do a nice little bounce pass to Booker, and it's a layup. And he decides to go in there and he gets his shit blocked by Jackson Hayes. And then he comes back down again and he turns the ball over and like 2 possessions later. And from that, for the rest of the quarter, Devin Booker had the ball in his hands, and he went from scoring every time to facilitating a lot more. And that's the growth of Devin Booker, is seeing the game the way that Chris Paul sees the game. Possession to possession. What did I see on that last one that's going to give me the information I need to be successful on this next one? Because that's what Chris Paul does. We've said it numerous times. He's one of the most cerebral players in the NBA consistently, and that's what you've been missing with him out. Now, granted, the Phoenix Suns, what's their record now, Matthew, without Chris Paul? Do you know offhand?
I want to say it's 7-3, but
I feel like you're right when you say that. I'm sure that one of the Jamsters will correct us in the chat. Thank you if you're in the chat, by the way. Hit that thumbs up while you're here. But yeah, I mean, if they're 7-3 without Chris Paul, it's because of Devin Booker. It's because of the leadership that he's providing. Will you hear his name in any NBA MVP talks?
No, of course not.
You won't. And
just the Giants.
Yeah, just the Giants. Yeah, Giannis, Jokic, and Rudy Gobert. No, Joel Embiid. I almost got you, but you were too high to figure it out.
I would never do one high, dude. Oh my god, I wouldn't even be able to respond to that.
That would be hilarious. But yeah, Devin Booker, I just thought that the way he performed tonight, he's not going to be my jam star, but I definitely think that he is a worthy proponent for that award in this game because of the way that he led this team. And the more I talk about it, the more I realize, like, when I hit the Jam Star segment, I'm probably wrong for saying who I think it is, but we'll get to that momentarily. Let's go ahead and do a little Ayton watch, shall we? Shall we?
Do it.
We shall.
Ayton watch.
So Deandre Ayton on the night, 18 points, 5 total rebounds, 7 of 11 from the field. Nothing overly spectacular, I'll say that. And real quick, shout out to Suns Geek. He says it's 7-4, and if it has to do with the Phoenix Suns, he's going to make a video about it. And he'll probably make a video about the fact that they're 7-4 because he is one of the best content creators on Planet Orange. So thank you, appreciate that, Suns Geek. But yeah, Deandre Ayton, tell me what you saw from him tonight, knowing that, we talked about a little bit already about how when you have two twin towers that he's going against, he's probably not going to be the most effective rebounder because he just doesn't have any weak side rebounding help.
Yeah, I think we realize that too. So it's really up to Monty to like really figure that stuff out down the line when it comes into the playoffs. Honestly, I saw a really good. Hey, I said 7-4 first. Okay, yeah, it's David Ray.
Just because I point out doesn't mean you have to read it. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm distracted. I'm high, so I see things in front of the screen. I'm like, oh, what is that?
I'm hallucinating.
But I saw a really nice bounce pass tonight from DA. That one to Mikal Bridges underneath the hoop, which was beautiful, man. That was something I don't think I've ever seen him do. We know that he can play make, and I feel like that's a thing too going into his later years where he'll be a good passer. He's going to be probably pretty good a passer. But the fast break pass that he received from Book and then the lay-in, like stuff like that, just shows you how agile he is. There was a lot of, from him and Booker too in the paint, like just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, did you see that from Book a couple of times too? Like, I don't know if he was complaining about a foul, but him and Ayton were kind of doing that all night long. So, I mean, with the Suns were winning, it's fine. But, Ayton, when he's not able to get the rebound, he's just kind of like, I don't know what else to do. I kind of don't like the way that looks, but we'll leave it there because I'm sure they'll just be like, I don't know, Ayton. I don't know either. Sorry, dude. We're just going to give up the rebounds. I don't know what else you want us to do because I'm like a foot smaller than these dudes. So Ayton's just like, I don't know what to do. So they're just looking at each other like, I don't know what to do. So, yeah.
I like what Fabio says in the chat. He says 5 rebounds doesn't sound good, but he probably would have had more if he played the fourth, which is a valid observation and something that if you look up and down the box score, Mikal Bridges posted 36 minutes tonight, but Jay Crowder, 21. DeAndre Ayton, 23. Devin Booker is 3 seconds shy of 30. And Cameron Payne had 26. On the first night of a back-to-back, that's the exact kind of statistic I want to read to you here. That's what's important. The team wins by, 16 points. DeAndre Ayton, 18-5. But in a win like that on the first night of a back-to-back, knowing that you're going to play a hungry Rockets team that is very explosive, and that it's a team that DA can dominate in. He does well against Houston. He's saving that energy for Christian Wood tomorrow night. So you're right. 5 rebounds doesn't necessarily look good. He had 8 of his 18 points in the first quarter. So I'm not overly worried about the DeAndre Ayton performance tonight in any way, shape, or form. As I mentioned earlier, I just think that he needs a little bit of help on that. We don't have a true power forward in every sense of the word, and I'm okay with that too. That's a discussion you see from time to time. Whenever somebody puts something on Twitter about DeAndre Ayton and his rebounding or lack thereof, the arguments start, and you fall into all these little different camps. And one of those camps is, well, we don't have a true power forward. And I'm okay with that. I like Jay Crowder as our power forward. I like to have the ability to spread the floor and to have guys who can hit threes like Jay Crowder can. He went 3 of 6 from beyond the arc tonight, and that accounted for all 9 of his points. I'd rather have that than somebody who clogs the paint and doesn't allow DeAndre Ayton to operate in the space offensively. Now, defensively, of course you want that. You want somebody down there who's a twin tower, somebody who can provide that defense. But you know what? Because our guard play and our wing play is so elite, our defense, I think we have, the second best defensive rating in the league. So there's no such thing as like a perfectly built squad, So I like what we have. Do you like what we have? Or do you think that in the future, a more traditional power forward could potentially be the answer?
Oh, you know who my power forward is with the future.
Yeah, you know what? It's been a while just because he's been injured.
Lights, Cameron, action.
We miss you, Cameron Johnson.
We do so much. He's my guy. He has the ability really to box out and be that other guy. He's bigger than what most people think. I think he can handle himself down there and help DA at times. So when he comes back, I'm not saying it's going to be something this year. Well, you'll see him as a dominant rebounder, but everything else he's doing to improve his game is just going to take a little bit of time. I just think he can be that guy. He can get even. I don't know. He's pretty big now. I don't know if he can get any bigger.
Yeah.
But he's like the biggest guy we have that can be more versatile offensively. That you can leave on the floor longer extended periods of times. That's Cameron Johnson. He's bigger than Jay. He's bigger than Mikal. And both Jay's playing the power forward. Sometimes Mikal is. And then you have Torrey Craig coming in playing the 4. So out of all those guys, I think Cameron Johnson is our future 4. And of course, you can play him at the 3 as well.
Well, and again, I think that what do you want to accomplish? Do you want to have a team that is locked down defensively and smashes the boards, but offensively can be impaired at times because they don't have that outside shooting? Or do you want a traditional or a non-traditional 4 like we have, where we can spread the floor, we can focus on our team rebounding, and we can hit those 3 balls offensively? So it's kind of like, what do you want? So I definitely think that, the Phoenix Suns, at times, that's been our Achilles heel. Again, if you look at tonight overall, the second chance points, 29 for the Pelicans and only 12 for the Suns. If you look overall, 13 offensive rebounds for the Pelicans, only 6 for the Phoenix Suns. And it's something that we've noted kind of over the past 3 weeks is we do have challenges with our rebounding, and especially giving up offensive rebounding. But as I mentioned in the preview for this game on the last podcast, this is also a team that is the 3rd best offensive rebounding team in the league. So it's kind of expected. I think the Phoenix Suns knew that. And again, they focused on ensuring that they got wide open looks from beyond the arc. And if they could knock those down, they could win. Well, that's what they did. They outshot the New Orleans Pelicans 18-12 from beyond the arc. So that's a plus 18 for the Suns from deep. And, they win by 16. That's just math, baby.
Yeah. Just really quick too. I was going to say something. I totally forgot. So go ahead.
No worries. One question I had for you. Did you see Ayton's shoes tonight?
No, I did not. Which ones was he wearing? I didn't notice.
Dude, they look like leopard skin or something. They were like, orange. It was like the Cheeto guy. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it was just my reception watching it.
Yeah, maybe it's the same ones I saw the other night, because they don't wear a whole lot of different shoes. Like usually it's like 3 or 4 throughout the whole season. It's probably the ones I saw the other night, but I didn't notice it tonight. But the ones, are they shiny?
A little bit shiny.
Yeah. Okay. I like the ones I saw the other night, though.
I thought it was an interesting look from DA, so I thought I'd bring that up in Ayton Watch. One thing I want to talk about, something that Kellen Olson tweeted out before the game this evening, was something Monty Williams had said, and I want to get your opinion on this because we've talked about the officiating. We didn't talk about the officiating tonight, which I feel is a good thing. You take a look at the total number of fouls in this game. There was more fouls by the Suns than the Pelicans, 22-19. From the Suns shot 15 total free throws. The Pelicans shot 24. I feel like that's, they still had 9 more attempts than we did, but I don't feel like it affected the game, nor did I feel like there was a plethora of bad calls. But I think we felt some bad calls over the past 2 weeks. And Monty Williams has definitely made it known to the media that he's not a fan of the way that the Suns are sometimes officiated. Sometimes there's some tic-tac fouls. And I wanted to bring this up just because you and I have mentioned that on the podcast. And we don't like talking about the officiating. But I like what Monty said. He said he would like to see the league at a 4th official, so there's less real estate for each referee to cover. Talked about how the refs are assigned to make calls in certain quadrants and such. Couple calls on each side tonight made me think of that, is what Monty said. And I don't know if you saw the highlight. I think it was yesterday, in which Patrick Beverley fell on the ground. You had Zach Collins from the Spurs just step over him, got teed up for it, and the official who teed him up was like 50 feet away. What are your thoughts on a potential 4th official just to assist with kind of ensuring that your zone is taken care of and taking less real estate away from the referees, as Monty suggested?
I think four is good. It's more eyes, of course. But I think the refs, they actually enjoy this. I think they enjoy, the back and forth. And you're 50 feet away, I'm going to call a play. I think they like the anxiety of getting yelled at. I think they enjoy it. I think it's something that they have to prove to everybody that they're right. They're going to do what they want to do. Those charging calls that they call, when they can't they get right into it. They get that hop step and just go like charging. You know what I mean? When they step into that, they love that stuff. But if you get like the fourth official, it'd be fine. They might be a little bit more in the way though, right? I just think that the way this works is, we get a little bit crazy and just have one in the booth too, just quickly, like in the NFL a little bit, but I don't know if that's going to work. I mean, you can call a call and then really quickly it's a replay, and then the ref in the booth would just be like, no good, and just continue on with the play. But I don't know if basketball that would work. I think the NFL it'll work, but basketball needs to do something, because like we talked about before, at the beginning of the season, it was so great. There wasn't a lot of calls. It was more aggressive, and now they switched things, and now they're calling those technicals from 50 feet away. They're doing whatever they want when they're not really seeing anything. Any ticky-tack foul is a foul now. Sometimes it's a flagrant one. So it's kind of went the opposite way now towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I just think that there's no consequence for shitty calls in the NBA. And I don't know if adding a fourth referee is going to solve that issue. I think there needs to be some sense of, hey, because we've seen it. We've seen the last 2-minute report where they sit there and they go, oh, no, Jamal Murray actually traveled on that play and the Suns should have won that game. Like, you're not going to reverse that game. But, if a player says something to an official, they get fined $50,000. Like, why don't you fine officials for not doing their job correctly? What a concept. If you don't do well at your job, there's a consequence to that, because it does create this kind of elitist, infallible sense that some of these officials have, to where they can do whatever they want because there's no consequence to it. And if there is a consequence, make it public so everybody knows. But again, I think that, I kind of mirror your point on that one. I don't know if 4 is too many. I just thought it was an interesting observation. And again, it was nice that we kind of did or had a game in which we didn't have to sit here and talk about the officiating. That's 2 in a row.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I don't think
and it's after Monty said something, right?
Yeah.
It was after Monty said something in the press conference, I feel like.
Yes. So, well, it's after, it's when we play the Bucks, man. It's so one-sided. And I get that Giannis puts you in tough situations, but at the same time, like, he also, and you saw that Giannis he fouled out of that game we played in because they were calling offensive fouls on him. And it's because Monty was riding the refs in that game. Be like, dude, if my guy's standing there with his hands up and he's in the lane and Giannis just puts his shoulder down, just barrels into him, he's creating the contact. He doesn't get a right to go through players. They're allowed to stand their ground. So again, when I talk to friends about basketball, and anybody who's watching, anybody who listens, I'll tell you this. You're a true fan of basketball if you're listening to a team-specific podcast. You love your basketball. And we all have friends who we try to share that passion with. And the first thing we say that we get responded to if we ask somebody like, hey, are you a Suns fan? Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm like, so, and you start talking about it a little, oh, I don't watch it that much. Well, why not? The officiating. It's inconsistent. It doesn't make sense to me. It's bullshit across the lines. And that's kind of been the consistent thing with basketball. In my opinion, it's the most fun, most exciting, engaging sport there is. It's nonstop action. It's 2.5 hours max. So it's not like it's a 4-hour baseball game. Even football, which is super fun to watch, is 4 hours. So basketball is such a fun sport to watch. But the officiating is what really turns people off to it. And you really start to see it as we enter March Madness, and there's going to be some bad calls there, and people talk about that as we enter the playoffs, and night to night we have that conversation. I just wish there was some sense of accountability. So,
and really quick too, the way players have to approach the game. So is it like a clean slate every game they start where the refs are just like, all right, I don't know anything about this team, whatever. And then these players have to let me know what's going on. Then I'll pay attention to it, and then I'll call those fouls. Like, when players complain, they end up getting their calls later on in the game. Is that always the thing, or do the refs already know this stuff? Like, shouldn't they already know what a fucking foul is?
You would think so. But again, one thing that sucks about officiating is the human element. Because with humanity, whether it's good or not, everyone comes with bias. That's the key word. It's bias. True. So as the game continues, they have a bias towards a certain player or not based on the level of complaining that's occurring, the way that they're complaining, and they enter the game with bias. The Phoenix Suns could be we know this from when the times when the Phoenix Suns were shitty teams, when we were winning 19 games. It felt like we could never get a call to go our way. And you look at the overall foul numbers game to game, and the Phoenix Suns were like 27th in the league in personal fouls. And that's to say, like, they committed the most. And so you'd enter the game and the referees would already have this bias against the Suns. Like, this is a team that plays over physical, and because they suck, they're not smart. So they'd call every ticky-tack thing. And the Suns would be like a mouse running, churning butter, trying to get out of there because they couldn't get out of their own way. And it just got ridiculous for a time. I mean, you remember those times, right?
I do. And like Booker, I think he's maybe the only guy that can really get to the line when he wants, maybe. But do you think because maybe he started too late in his career to get calls, it's like too late? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he can't really develop a game to where he can get foul calls. You know, like a James Harden or a lot of these players that point at like Joel Embiid or
no, because of the way that Devin Booker, the difference between Devin Booker, in my opinion, between Devin Booker and the James Hardens / Luka Doncic / Dylan Brookses of the world is they play the refs like, Mom, he hit me. Whereas Devin Booker is like, this motherfucker hit me. It's a difference, and you see it on his face. It's only 7% of the way we communicate is words. The other 83 or the other 93% is body language and tone. And Devin Booker has body language that turns off refereeing. And I'm sure if you ever sat courtside and you hear Devin Booker's tone, he's got a deep voice and he sounds like he's yelling at you in a mean way.
He's worked on that too, man.
Absolutely. He's a cold-blooded killer. He's like, he ain't got time for anybody like that. Whereas James Harden, I mean, we've seen Luka. He's like, but come on, guys, they hurt me, and like James Harden's like, and Dylan Brooks is like, my ass.
And Luka's painful, man.
Yeah,
Luka is painful to watch.
Yeah,
like I you know what, that Mavericks team might go far in the playoffs, but that's gonna suck to watch that shitty team. When
I know
he's doing that. Oh,
especially if the NBA officials, as we've seen throughout this season, are starting to fall back to the allowing all the ticky-tack shit. Why do you think the Atlanta Hawks suck ass this year? Because Trae Young hasn't been able to get away with a lot. Now, granted, it's a loaded question. There's a million different reasons why. And if you ask any Hawks fans, they'll list like 13 things before they get to, and Trae Young doesn't get the calls like he used to. But he's starting to again. And when that happens, again, it's not a fun NBA to watch. So my apologies. It was definitely a tangent. But
all right. It was a quick, weird game. This game was like,
it was a fast game, man.
It was super fast. I was like, there's not a whole lot of notes I took. But
I took like 3, but I also wrote the
you wrote the thing.
I wrote the recap for Bright Side of the Sun. So that's I was really in tune with the game, and I was really in tune with the performance of this guy. Double O McGee. JaVale McGee in this game had a total of 19 points, 13 of which occurred in the fourth quarter. And I think he played a key role, as well as the rest of the the reserve players for the Phoenix Suns, not only ensuring that this team won the game, they entered that fourth quarter and they extended the lead and ultimately put this team away. Torrey Craig, 12 minutes in the fourth. Aaron Holiday, 12 minutes in the fourth. JaVale McGee, 8.5 minutes in the fourth. Landry Shamet, 8.5 minutes in the fourth. So, then it was Alfred, Bismack, and Ish Wainwright all came in with 3:30 left in the game. But I really thought it was the effort provided by JaVale McGee. And as you mentioned, and Eddie mentioned it on the broadcast as well, they had to bring in Jonas Valanciunas. They had to bring him back in the game sooner than he wanted to, because Willie Green was afraid that this game was going to slip away. And because of that, he was just a little fatigued. And then you sprinkle some of that Double O McGee sauce on top, and he was cooked, man, because his energy is ultimately what broke Valanciunas in this game.
Yeah, he was basically the closer tonight. He wouldn't stop on the offensive glass. I mean, even the fourth, he was 5 for 5, and it really was like the beginning of the fourth. It was like anything that was missed, he was there to clean it up and put it back in. But the energy he plays with, of course, and Eddie was talking about how Monty wants him to play the 14 to 18 minutes a game. And it doesn't seem like that much, but the energy he puts throughout those minutes, it equals like a 24-minute game, right? It seems like it, because of all what he does on the court, just kind of gives rest to the other guys where he can build up that lead with the bench. And then the reserves, the starters can come back in and finish the job. But like tonight, it's one of those games where it's like he just closed it out. And he's done that in the past, but he like single-handedly did it tonight, I feel like, to start the fourth.
He really did. He really did. Yeah. I was, again, writing the recap. Entering the fourth quarter, neither Landry Shamet or Aaron Holiday has scored a point. and they hadn't shot a ton either. They just hadn't scored yet, and I think that it was Torrey Craig and JaVale McGee who ultimately were like, listen, we're getting beat up down low, so let's just kind of you guys keep shooting threes outside from the starters, and when we come in, we're going to try to lock down that interior. And we didn't need Aaron Holiday to be great. I'm not going to sit and dog Landry Shamet tonight because we didn't need him to be great tonight. It was JaVale McGee, as you mentioned, who came in with that closer's mentality, like he's Alejandro Pena for the Atlanta Braves in 1993, and he closed the game out. And I mean, you saw the way that he does it too, with his rebounding, with his awkward shots. Not only does he close it out, he does it in a very deflating way. It was the same thing with a lot of this game. This was a very deflating game for the Pelicans because when you look at the turnovers, I forget what the number is on total turnovers. 17 turnovers for the Pelicans equated to 33 points for the Suns. So it's like anytime they turn the ball over, the Suns executed on it, and that's deflating. And then you go down and you got JaVale McGee. You've played defense on him great. He does this like weird pirouette up and under thing, and it goes in, and it's an and one. It's just like you're like, fuck. And there's nothing we can do to beat this team tonight. I guarantee you that's how Pelican fans, if you're watching the Pelicans jam session, their version of that, they're probably talking about just that. It's like no matter what we tried tonight, the Suns had an answer for. And that was personified, in my opinion, by JaVale McGee.
Yeah, and also like it seemed like the lead that the Suns had, it seemed like it was a quiet, big lead. And I feel like the Pelicans kind of felt like maybe they were playing good and they were close, but they would look up at the scoreboard like, oh shit, we're down by 20.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it was a weird, I don't think I've ever felt this kind of game this year from the Suns where it just seemed, I know the 3-pointers were going down, the turnovers to points, all that was good, but it just seemed like Pelicans were playing their ass off, and then they probably just thought this might be a close game in the fourth, and it never really was a close game. It really wasn't.
It was
just weird.
Well, it was just a sustained performance by the Suns. You look, They scored 33 points in the first quarter, they had 34 in the second, they had 31 in the third, and they had 33 in the fourth. So every quarter they scored 31 or more points. And the Pelicans had 30 points twice. They did in the second and the fourth, 29 in the first, 23 or 26 in the third. So they were playing well. It's not like they had one of those. The Suns will do that to you every now and then. All of a sudden it'll be like boom, 15-point opposition.
I know.
And you're well, that's the game. That's the why. And the Suns didn't necessarily do it throughout the entire or in one quarter all at once. They did it over an entire game. Now, granted, the Pelicans had that run where they went 14-2 on the Suns. The Suns were up by like, I feel like it was like 18 or something. And then all of a sudden it was like a 4-point game just like that. So they had the confidence to stay in this game, but that sustained effort from the Suns led by the bench who outscored their bench, I believe it was 43-29, something like that. And that's the name of the article that I posted on Bright Side of the Sun is the Suns' depth proves to be superior. They downed the Pelicans 131-115 because that's ultimately what it was. Our depth not only was sustained throughout the entire game from a scoring standpoint, it was so good we didn't have to have our starters come back in the fourth quarter. Our main starters, Campaign played some minutes, but DA played just a little bit. Devin Booker, you didn't see him again, and that's the way it should be, and that's what happens when you have a deep team like this Phoenix Suns team. Yep.
Jam star of the game.
All right, Jamsters, as a reminder to subscribe, rate, and review. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave us a review, and we'll read it live right here on the Suns Jam Session podcast. As I pull up my Apple Podcasts on my Apple iPhone, I will tell you that. Let's see if we have any new reviews, Matthew. See if anybody went on there, gave us 5 stars, and then wrote something that we could read right here on the pod. Let's see here. Scrolling. Here we go. We have a new one. Yes. Sunday from Strokes. 5 stars. I've been meaning to write this review for you guys for a while now. But life gets lifey. Agreed to that, Strokes. Everything in due time. I've been listening for a couple years now, and you guys have slowly but definitely surely become my favorite Suns podcast. Appreciate that because there's some good ones out there. First, the solar panel breaks up. Now every day I wake up and got an ad problem with Locked On. No disrespect to those shows, but the John and Matthew vibe is unmatched. It's probably because Matthew's high as shit half the time. Those gummies are really good. And my other favorites have morphed into things I don't recognize anymore. But you guys feel like home for Suns fans, and I know win or loss, I can come home and love my son's family. I'm from the Bahamas, though. Shout out to Ayton. So I'm always going to listen to the pod as opposed to watching on YouTube, which is absolutely fine. Listen to the pod. I love it. Because timing. Became a Suns fan during 7 seconds or less era because I would stay up late when the house was quiet to do homework, and it would normally be when the Suns were playing those late night games. Fell in love ever since and never abandoned the ship, although I thought about it. Trust me, Strokes, we've all thought about it. Yes. Those were some rough, dark
days. We did.
Love the childhood trauma segments. Love most of the drops. The juice drops doesn't really translate over audio. I can see that. And I love how dedicated you guys are to being Suns fans. Matthew Lissy, you are a prophet. I love that. I believe Shamit will be crucial for us too. You already called it. John, you know he's going to be right. Continue making this great content, and I can't wait to get to Phoenix to celebrate a championship parade. Hashtag Suns 2022. Hashtag go home and love your family at Warlord 1914. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah,
that
thank
really
you.
Means
that
a
was
lot.
Good. Yeah, that was a good review, man.
That really was.
Appreciate it.
It's that makes Matthew want to get high.
I know.
So Matthew, you already said Fabio says, wait, no juice drop. Well, listen, Strokes just told us in the chat that it's not good for audio. It's only good for video.
What's up?
The juice.
But hell, you were here and watching on video, and you know what? He had a great game. 3 of 6, I believe, from beyond the arc, total of 11 points. Matthew, who's your GM star of the game? Still Devin Booker after everything we've talked about?
It's Devin, but what we should have done is just like talk about every player, be like, oh no, he's not my jam star though, and just never release our jam star.
And then never do the drop.
Never say.
And tomorrow we're playing the Rockets. I'm giving mine to JaVale McGee. I'm giving it to JaVale. Wow. I really think that the energy he brought in that fourth quarter is what pushed the Suns ultimately out of the range of the Pelicans having any hope. He was the hope taker tonight. So that's why he gets it from me. Ted Lubin, BDB. Jewel gives it to Double O McGee. Fabio gives it to Big Dick Booker as well. A couple comments I saw in here. What's going on with Cam Johnson from Jeff Macias? You know, what I've heard lately from, the best thing to do, honestly, is just follow Flex on from Jersey. Does a great job of kind of breaking down these questions, and that's kind of where I turn to when I have these kind of questions. What's going on with Cam Johnson? Well, it sounds like he has that quad contusion. It's something that hurts. It's getting better, and he could be back within a week or two, but the Suns don't necessarily want to rush him back because they don't need to right now. They're 55-14. Coach Evan B., host of the He's on Fire podcast, asks in the chat, can the Suns finish 7-5 to get the best record in franchise history? Yes, I think so. And that's, but again, to that point, the Suns don't need to rush back Cam Johnson because they're so far ahead right now. I mean, Memphis won today, and we won again. And every Memphis fan's just like, shit. Of course they're battling out to see who they're going to have to, the 2 or the 3 seed with the Warriors and all that fun stuff. And now that Draymond Green's back, apparently you're going to beat the entire world and they're going to win the championship is what he said. But I mean, what are your thoughts on Cameron Johnson and the rest that he's essentially getting right now?
Did Draymond really say that? Because I feel like everyone keeps saying that shit. So every player that's hurt right now is basically saying when we come
No, he came back and they're going to win the championship. I think he came back. They played who they played? Like the Trailblazers, and they beat the shit out of him, and they're like, he's like, well, we're going to win the championship. It's like, come on, dude, you beat the Blazers.
I don't know, man. It still scares the shit out of me.
Of course, that's a scary team.
I know. Everyone's gonna be healthy for the playoffs, so here we go. So Cam Johnson, I mean, usually Flex will tweet out anything you're thinking about before you go on Twitter. You'll be thinking about the Suns. Any questions you have, he'll just automatically have it there for you. But what was your original question? Sorry.
Cam Johnson.
It's just about Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, get some rest. Just get some rest, and it's not really a guy that you feel like he's got to get his legs underneath him. I feel like he'll come back in. He'll still be the tank he is. Yes. He'll take down. He'll throw down some threes. He'll just make the offense work without Booker and Mikal Bridges on the floor. So I'm looking forward to that, dude. And the Suns will probably only lose one more game the rest of the year. I think. I don't think they're ever going to slow down. Okay. I think they're going to.
We looked at that schedule last podcast, and we're like, I don't know.
That's why, though. I think because of the competition. I think
that's true. Keeps them engaged.
Good, for the rest of the year.
Well, and a lot of the Jamsters are reminding me the Warriors beat the Wizards, the lowly Wizards, and that's where the championship comments came out.
Thoughts? Brains?
So our thoughts is where we talk about things around the NBA that might affect the Suns, might not affect the Suns, but it's fun to talk NBA stuff. One thing that Iverson Vlog says, Golden State Warriors might have to play a healthy Denver team in round 1, which could be scary for them because Jamal Murray was assigned to the G League today. So Jamal Murray could be back, which clearly means that the Denver Nuggets are going to sweep everybody now that they have Jamal Murray back.
Yeah, and MPG or no? Or MPJ, sorry.
MPJ, I don't know what his status is, but I know that Jamal Murray's on the rebound, if you will.
He's the guy I'm worried about.
Yeah, I'm worried about both of them, and potentially they could be both healthy for the playoffs, and that's what the Golden State Warriors might have to play in for. The 3-6 matchup. That's a hell of a 3-6 matchup because I don't care if Denver doesn't beat the Warriors, they will beat up the Warriors, and I think that's valid.
Yeah, and we'll be rooting for Denver too, I think, in that series. Anything to get the Warriors out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever happens, but we do have Chris Paul not healthy either. So we have our thing where we can say, hey, if you wait till Chris Paul comes back, we're going to win the championship. So
what are your thoughts on both Kyrie Irving and Karl Anthony Towns going for 60 points in consecutive nights?
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, right? I mean, good for Cat. Good for them winning over there. I'm excited about I don't know how I feel about this Nets team. I know that they were very, very scary. Now, I know we just picked the Sixers, I think, to go to the finals last week. And now that after they beat and destroyed them, and now James Harden doesn't look the same ever since.
I know,
it's
right?
Kind of like now it's like the Nets. Like, I don't want the Nets to go to the finals just like last year. Last year, we feared playing the Nets. Now, if the Nets stay healthy and Kyrie can play, I mean, that team is, like I said, Kyrie and KD, that's all you need offensively to win a championship.
Oh,
that's
yeah. I mean,
I don't know how anybody stops that team. With Andre Drummond, Seth Curry, too, the way they're playing. Oh, but yeah, it's pretty cool. The 60-point games, it's nice to have the back-to-back, I think, because LeBron just did the 50 and 50, and then now you got the 60 and 60 these last 2 nights.
Yeah, no, and real quick to piggyback on what you said about the Nets is they're the team that has always scared me. The Sixers. I mean, did you hear what KD said about what their strategy was to beat the Sixers in that game? He's like, we're just going to run them off the court because they can't keep up with us. And I don't know what's going to happen with the Nets this year, but I'll tell you this. They'll get Ben Simmons back. If they get Ben Simmons back, he is a perfect fit for that situation. Like, you distribute, you play defense, and the other guys will take care of the scoring. So that's going to be terrifying.
And then Kyrie's defense too.
Well, exactly. I mean, when he's engaged and he wants to play it, yeah. So he was playing against Harden though, and Harden can be kind of a bitch sometimes. So what I really liked is I like the Karl Anthony Towns 60-point game. It kind of sucks because the next night Kyrie comes out and scores 60 and completely snatches the headlines from Cat. And that's kind of typical, I feel, of all Minnesota basketball. But you look at where Minnesota is right now, and I'm going to pull up the playoff picture for those of you who are watching along live, and you'll see that as of today, if we were to have the playoffs start, Minnesota would actually start with playing in the first round in that play-in game against the Los Angeles Clippers. And the Los Angeles Lakers would have to play the team that we played tonight, the New Orleans Pelicans. If the Lakers had to play the Pelicans, who do you think wins? And if Minnesota had to play the Clippers, who do you think wins? And get used to this conversation because we're going to be having this a lot because we're getting ready for playoff time, baby.
No, I know. It's going to be the Lakers. Lakers will win. And I hate it. I think so. I don't. I know. I have to see them die every year before I consider they're going to lose. I really do. That's just the way I am. That's the way.
Well, but if they lose that game, then they're yeah. Yeah, they lose that game, they gone.
Yeah, it's true. And Minnesota, the Clippers team, what's so scary is Paul George might come back, maybe, but that team is just.
I think Kawhi has a better chance of coming back than
does he?
Paul
Okay.
George does. Yeah.
I just think because the Clippers and Lakers, I'm gonna choose them. But I would love to see Minnesota and the Pelicans sneak in there, man, because it's been a while for both those franchises.
Absolutely. It'd be fun to watch. And I honestly think that if the Pelicans played against the Lakers, that the Pelicans would win that game. They have a little bit of size. They have a little bit of they can deter what the Lakers do well. The Lakers no longer have size. And we saw the size tonight. And if you get Brandon Ingram back and you get CJ McCollum out there, anything can happen in one game, man. Anything. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I can't wait for
We'll
these playoffs.
we'll definitely talk about these things a lot more moving forward.
We have to.
Real quick before we get out of here, Suns versus Rockets. Thoughts?
It'll be a win. I think DA dominates again, and honestly, this Rockets team can be scary, but no, the way the Suns have been playing, the way they've been dealing with these teams that are scrappy, they're fierce, and they want to make a statement against the best team in the NBA. It doesn't matter anymore. I think they can just handle them.
Yeah, no,
with a lot of rest too tonight. A lot of rest helped.
Yep. And again, the advantage of playing those back-to-backs is you got some rest tonight, but you're still in rhythm, in flow. Anyone who says the only time a back-to-back hurts a team is if they have to play a tough physical game 1 or game 2, and they're just fatigued in the second half. And you shouldn't see that fatigue in the second half. You're going against a team in Houston who doesn't play defense. The reason they can beat you is they're too stupid not to shoot a million threes and have half of them go in. That's how they can beat you, is on the offensive end. They're not going to beat you by wearing you down defensively. So the Phoenix Suns shouldn't be fatigued at all in this upcoming game. And due to that, I believe that the Phoenix Suns win, and we go up to 56-14.
Not unless it's
nice.
a gummy tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you take 2 gummies, and everybody has a good time. So on that note, Gummy Jamster watcher listeners, thank you for hanging out for the show. Thank you. I forget the name of the guy who left us, the Warlord 1914. Thank you for leaving us that ever so nice review on Apple Podcasts, calling Matthew a prophet. These are the facts. He takes the gummies.
Not the first
time. He sees the future. So he'll tell you whether or not, Fabio, go home and love your edibles. On that note, please subscribe, rate, and review. Please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button while you're here. Let everybody know where the best post-game podcast on Planet Orange is. Whether you're watching or listening, we appreciate it. And we'll see you tomorrow night after the Suns play those Houston Rockets.
Yeah, go home and love your family.
Take care.